What's going on, guys? Welcome to Off the Grid, our Marvel Secret Invasion review. My name is Kyle, your host. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Got the green backdrop here, the kind of custom backdrop that I put together here, and the green, and then kind of the yellow colors, the sacred symbols too, because it's just a nice little touch there. But if you haven't been to the channel before, welcome to Project Potter, guys. I got my Avengers shirt here. I don't really have a Nick Fury shirt, unfortunately, so I am excited to talk about this. I wasn't sure if I was going to review this. I know this is going up a couple days late. I'm going to do, guys, is kind of review every episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion. And if you've seen my other reviews, guys, it's going to follow a very similar format. I'll do kind of my favorite scenes, a favorite character, a least favorite character, a score out of 10. You guys know the deal, so let's go. Guys, I love Winter Soldier. It's one of my favorite movies in the MCU. I love the whole Captain America trilogy. I heard reviews that this was like Winter Soldier vibes, but like ratcheted up. So I'm like, okay, cool. But I'm kind of going in with like low expectations because let's be honest, guys, everything post Endgame has been a lower quality. Everything has just been kind of a step down. And you're missing heavy hitters like Chris Evans, who was so good in Winter Soldier and the whole trilogy, really. And obviously Robert Downey Jr. is not in there. So there are some big names that are not in there. But I think you get some new characters in this episode that kind of fit right in with the MCU, and there's some big names. Emilia Clarke is great in this. She's really good, and it's like, trust no one, dude, after this episode. Obviously, Samuel Jackson is great, and to see him get his own show finally is great. And it took a little too long, and I think maybe this show would have been a little more effective a few years ago, but I think it still hits on sort of the bigger moments, and the themes, I think, work really well. But yeah, Samuel Jackson, Colby Smulders as Maria Hill. Twist at the end, guys, where are they going to kill off Agent Hill? I hope they do, because it would be a nice little turn. And we get that scene at the end, guys, where they're in the marketplace and one of the Skrulls looks, which I don't know if it was like the main guy, but looks at Nick Fury, becomes Nick Fury, like a fake Nick Fury, and then shoots Robin Scherbatsky right there. So I hope they kill her off, because I didn't see that coming. And death needs to mean something in the MCU, and you can't just keep, I know they got the multiverse and stuff, but you can't just keep bringing people back or fake out. If that's a fake out death, which I don't think it is, it would be really like lame to end it on that. But I love how this idea that Nick Fury has lost a step, and they're like, dude, you're not the same since you were blipped, and we get a quick glimpse back to that. And it's interesting because we haven't really explored characters post blip. There's been a couple of things. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier might have touched on that a little bit, but we haven't really explored, like, yeah, is your life the same? Is it different? What was it like? I know Ant-Man, like, I think he said, well, he was in the quantum realm, so he said it was like 2 minutes in there or whatever. I don't really remember completely, guys, to be honest with you, but I thought this show was beautifully shot. I thought everything looked really, really well and really well lit. And we get Martin Freeman in the beginning with Agent Ross, and this was a little too predictable because we get this guy who's doing like the Pepe Sylvia, basically, explanation here. And he's like, this is the attack that's going to like change everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. And hopefully it wasn't that attack at the end, because that was underwhelming. But as soon as Agent Ross was in there, I was like, this isn't Agent Ross, dude. He's like, oh, I'm just going to take this to Nick Fury. And I'm like, that's not, something about it. I'm not usually that person that like picks out like, oh, I saw the twist coming. I usually just like sit back and like let the things come to me. But for some reason, I just was like, that's not Agent Ross. And I do love the fact that the Skrulls have this awesome power where they can look at someone, they take their form. That scene where Emilia Clarke goes in there, and then they're like, take his face, and it's really cool. I thought the effects looked great there. And then they throw him into like this thing, and they're like, now take his mind. And it only took like 30 seconds to take this dude's mind. I thought that was really cool to show you just how shockingly and terrifyingly effective and intrusive and secretive that the Skrulls can be, where anyone can be a Skrull. And I love that element about the show where you don't know if this person is who they are, if they're a Skrull. One thing I didn't like, dude, is that Skrulls just look dumb. Like, Skrulls are they just look really dumb every time, and I don't know what it is. It's just like, it's too like alien for me, where I'm like, it feels like a Star Trek sort of vibe, and I'm like, I don't like that. So I'm not a big fan of that. I do like that they're all going to hang out in like basically these Chernobyl areas, like these radioactive power plants, because they're immune to radioactivity, so they just hang out there. I thought that was really cool and a nice twist. I love Ben Mendelsohn, but he has a really weird like sort of American Irish accent in this, but it's like maybe I'm just used to him always playing like an American because I don't think he's American naturally. I have to check that, but he had a weird accent where I was kind of hearing Ben Mendelsohn and then I was kind of hearing like this weird like kind of Irish knockoff, and it threw me off a little bit. They have this idea that like Nick Fury is like old and fat, and like say he's been gone at Saber for a few years, and they're like, "What were you doing at Saber?" And there's talk about like a midlife crisis and stuff, and there's a nice scene where Ben Mendelsohn is like, "Oh, what did you do?" And he's like, "I'm not even 40 in human years." He's like, "What'd you do?" And he's like, "I got the Avengers." And I was like, okay. The tone was a little off for me. I think for the most part it hit, but they were kind of balancing this line between like dark spy thriller and then like kind of goofy humor. I don't understand why everything Marvel now, they're trying to like make everything funny. And it's like, dude, movies like Ragnarok are perfect for that. But this stuff, like Winter Soldier is not funny, dude. Winter Soldier is serious and high quality and action packed. And like in Winter Soldier, I felt like when Nick Fury's in the apartment for Cap and he's like Shield's compromised and they can't even talk, they have to like write it down. That was like, oh my god, I don't know where anything's going on. And then he's like, get me off the grid, which is the kind of the inspiration for the title of the show here. But Winter Soldier was so perfect, and then I was looking for that same vibe here, and I don't know if we quite got that, although there were pieces of that. I just thought, again, it was shot beautifully. I don't know if they used new cameras or what, but like there were some really like stunning environments in here, and I just thought it was very clean. It was great. But I'm just wondering, like, I don't know if this particular story has me completely hooked. I think it's a good, strong first episode, but I wasn't in love with it, and I didn't hate it. It's a step in the right direction, I'd say, for Marvel. And it's tough because I'm a huge Marvel fan, guys. I love the MCU. I think the MCU is amazing. Everything, especially up to Endgame and No Way Home, just incredible. It's like a complete achievement. But I will admit that I'm getting a little bit of MCU fatigue, and I'm getting a little bit of Marvel fatigue, and I'm going to watch everything Marvel, and I'm going to review probably everything Marvel. I'm going to be there day one, or like day three, whatever it is at this point. But I'm getting a little bit of superhero fatigue, and it's not because I don't want more superhero stuff. I just saw Across the Spider-Verse and loved it. Best theater experience of my life, my favorite movie of all time. Go check out my review of Project Parker, guys. It's the quality that's dipping. If Marvel was putting these out, and I know they've kind of slowed down and they've said like, okay, we're delaying stuff, and now they have this whole mess with like Jonathan Majors where it's like they don't even know like his legal situation, and is he going to be Kang? Are they going to change him? I think he would be a great Kang. I really liked him in Quantumania, but I don't know how that's all going to shake out. I'm sure that's affecting their plans, but I hope that they take a minute and look back. And it's tough because they can never really recapture the magic that was those movies, right? Because you had the individual movies that were great, like Captain America, like Iron Man, and they all came together for Avengers, but then you had these interesting stories, and you had Thanos as the big bad and building it up and everything. That's why Kang was so exciting to me. For these smaller stories, it's nice because we get to spend time with characters that we don't get as much time with. Maria Hill, Nick Fury stuff I thought was really good, but she's like, dude, you haven't been in contact with us for years. And then in my head, I'm thinking, is this really Nick Fury or is he a Skrull? I like the idea that anyone on screen can be anyone else at any time, and you don't even know it because they're obviously going to use the same actors, and that could be a Skrull. Nick Fury kind of losing a step, I do like that, because even Maria Hill is like, the Nick Fury I know is like 3 steps ahead. And I've talked about in reviews, guys, how Nick Fury, some of my critiques of those films that he's in, he kind of has been losing a step for a little bit, I feel like, where like Nick, whenever someone gets the best of Nick Fury, I'm like, your character is supposed to be like thinking of backup plans for backup plans, So I really like the dude. I don't know what he's from. He looks super familiar. He almost reminds me of the guy from His Dark Materials, but he's like the main villain or whatever. I thought he was really cool. We got very little of him, but he was like very like kind of playing the cool guy and being the villain. And then like at the end when he just like presses the button, I was like, okay, it's pretty good. I was kind of hoping for bigger explosions or whatever, but it was still interesting. It wasn't as like terrifying as I think they wanted it to be, but it was still good. Speaking of His Dark Materials, guys, the intro I thought was really cool. The intro like sequence had some His Dark Materials vibes. The music was good. The art direction was beautiful. I thought Nick Fury's like putting the camera on that lady that kidnaps him. I guess they're like go back or whatever. Him putting the camera on the owl It was okay. It was kind of clever, but then like it seemed a little too convenient. And then they like when he leaves, they show it again. Like, remember, he put the camera on here. It's like trusted the audience is smart enough to figure that out. I don't like the like over showing the audience like, hey, don't forget this is here. I like when something subtle happens, and then like after you watch it, if you go on like Reddit or something, someone's like, oh, actually in this frame you see Nick Fury put the camera here, and it's like, oh my god, I never saw that. You know what I mean? Like, let me kind of do my own research, or let me kind of look for Easter eggs or clues on my own. Don't like make it so obvious. It's like when a video game gives you a hint right away, and you're like, dude, let me try and figure it out first. So the show has a lot of potential, but I'm not quite sure it's going to hit the highs of some of the old MCU stuff, but I think it is a step in the right direction, so I'd say it's a pretty solid first episode. My favorite character, guys, I actually am going to say that it was Nick Fury, because I think Samuel Jackson is just so good, dude. When he's standing there and they go to face that guy, like the artist or whatever, he turns out to be a Skrull, shocker. I love how Nick Fury's like, that's one lie. Everyone gets one. He's like, nobody gets two. And then like Ben Mendelsohn's fighting him, and it's kind of a goofy tone because he's like, I got this. And he's like, you sure about that? And it's like, again, not everything needs to be funny, dude. Are you going to shoot me? He's like, I am going to shoot you, probably. He's like, but not right now. And there were some scenes with Samuel Jackson that I was like, man, I really miss Samuel Jackson. It's kind of funny because obviously he's been a big part of the MCU, but he hasn't really gotten a ton of time to shine. And it's almost like I wish we got Sam Jackson 5-10 years ago. Now, he's still wonderful. He seems a little toned down in this one, but I think they're kind of building up to be like, okay, Nick Fury's lost a step. Something's going to happen where he's got to get back, like almost like a Rocky montage, he's got to get back into shape. And I think we're going to see a much different Nick Fury at the end of this series as opposed to the pilot episode. So I like that he's kind of slow, and for some reason he's not wearing the eye patch anymore, and there's probably a reason behind that. And I like that he's kind of coming back down to earth. I'm still not entirely sure that is Nick Fury, that he's not a Skrull. Curious to see where that goes, but I think he was the best one in this first episode, and it's just a delight to see him on screen. He's such a great actor. My least favorite character, this kind of hurts me to say, it's Ben Mendelsohn, dude. I love Ben Mendelsohn. He's great. I didn't know he was in the show too, so as soon as he popped up, I was like, oh, Ben Mendelsohn's in this. It's a combination of like the writing that they gave him, his character. I don't really know the tone. He's a Skrull, but he's kind of like, he's got this connection to Fury when they like touch heads in the beginning. I was like, what's going on here? Do they know each other? And that made me think, like, I don't know, is that Fury or is that a Skrull Fury? It's weird, but his weird accent and his writing and some of the action sequences, like, it's not that Ben Mendelsohn is a bad actor by any means. And I thought there were a few moments where he shined, where he was talking to like Gaia and everything, but something was off about his character, and I think it'll get better, but the accent was really throwing me, dude. I know that seems like a silly thing, but it just didn't seem to match up with his character. So Ben Mendelsohn, I love Ben Mendelsohn, dude. Even in shows like The Outsider, which was largely disappointing, I thought he was excellent in. So I think he'll have probably a standout episode or some moments that are great, but I don't know where his character fits into this whole thing so far. And he didn't leave a super strong impression on me. Kind of where that goes, but I think he's my least favorite character for the first episode. Okay, guys, that brings us to a score. This is an 8-1. I think the quality, the production quality is still really high. The tone kind of going back and forth between really dark and serious and like kind of goofy and not really sure where it's going, I thought brings the score down a little bit. Set pieces were pretty nice. I thought the lighting was good. And like I said, guys, it was just really well shot. Like I was like, this looks really nice on my 4K TV. I think it had moments where I was in and I was paying attention, but they also throw like a lot of information at you. It's kind of information overload. The first 20 minutes, I was like, I almost had to like rewind or like put subtitles on because I was like, what did you say? Or like, they're like, oh, this is what's happening. And then we got this commander. And then like that, they didn't really explain who that lady was. And I talked about how like, you know, I don't want them to give the audience too much, like let me figure it out. But for some stuff or plot stuff, it's like, okay, well, take a second to either talk slower or like explain that a little bit better, because I get it, dude. I talk fast all the time, okay? I still do that. I mumble a lot. I try not to, but I do. But this is a produced TV show, so it's like you're introducing this new world. It's like to take a second to, at least in the pilot, like explain to the audience what's going on, what's the mission. So I felt like it was trying to be too clever sometimes, but with that being said, guys, I did really enjoy it. I am interested in seeing where it goes from here. I don't know. I think this is it 6 episodes? I don't know. I got to look it up, but it's probably another one of those miniseries. I always enjoy these Marvel shows. I like the different tones. I love She-Hulk. I thought that was really fun, but that was more a goofier vibe. I don't really know if this is going to tie. I'm sure it's going to tie into some of the bigger stuff, but I'm interested to see like what the end goal is here. I'm sure we're going to get some cameos, but I think it was a good to above average start for the pilot. Okay, guys, that's the open episode of Off the Grid. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Appreciate you. Let me know what your thoughts are on the episode if you're watching it. And until next time, guys, trust no one.